Welcome everyone to the Scottish Highlands Galactic Historian What's Your Purpose tour. You're asking, what's my purpose? Your purpose is to go on this tour and discover the mystical, magical highlands and lowlands of Scotland. We'll be going from Edinburgh to Kirkwall, Inverness, all over the Scottish lands, as you can see on our incredible map. So I want to bring in Dale to talk about what is going to be included with this trip.
So what's included on this What's My Purpose tour, we'll get a chance to meet Andrew Bartzis, and we'll be able to ask him what our own purposes are, and we'll be able to ponder and try and figure this out in 10 days.
And each and every day we will be driving and I will be talking about the histories of the places that we are passing and going to. And a part of these attractions are what we're including in this tour to make it the most memorable tour I've ever been on. Dale, what are the attractions and everything that's included?
A Scottish driver and also a guide. You'll have your own very luxurious Mercedes-Benz coach as well. It'll include all transport and ferries, 9 nights accommodation and 9 breakfasts and also dinner included as well. So for the attractions you'll get free entry to Dunrobin Castle and Gardens. You'll also be tasting the fine whiskey at the Highland Whiskey Distillery tasting, where you'll be able to see the spirits being made and created. And we'll be also getting entry to Skye, the Garrigan Blackhouses Village, Callanish Standing Stones, which are so famous throughout the world. And we'll be also going entry to the Armdale Castle and Gardens, where we get the chance just to relax and walk around and just enjoy the scenery and the outside and the history. Also, we'll be going on a half-boat day trip to Stafford, and we'll be also going to entry to Iona Abbey.
This is your opportunity to take the pilgrimage with all of us to the Scottish Highlands, the 10-day bus tour around the Scottish Highlands. On the first day of the journey, of this 10-day journey, we're going to have an opportunity to be on the bus and meet and greet everyone and begin the first part of having to understand the akashic records from day 1 to day 10.
So after being introduced to our driver, who's our guide for the next 10 days, we're going to leave the beautiful city of Edinburgh and head north over the Firth of Forth to view the impressive Forth Bridges before passing through the ancient kingdom of Fife. Even that name sounds magical, doesn't it? And into Perthshire. On the banks of the mighty River Tay, home of the salmon, Dunkeld is a beautiful planned estate village with a cathedral dating back to the 10th century. We're going to stop here for a break and walk in the local woodlands known as the Hermitage. Onwards through the beautiful Cairngorms National Park, we'll head to the Bronze Age standing stones and burial chambers at the Balnurin of Clava, said to be the inspiration behind Diana Gabaldon's Outlander novels, before visiting the site of the last major battle on British soil at Culloden. Then we arrive at the capital city of the Highlands, that's Inverness, a beautiful city sitting on the River Ness for the evening. And there's a wide selection of bars and restaurants for you to have your first taste of true Highland hospitality. And we spend the night there in Inverness.
And at the end of that first day, you will be overwhelmed with the amount of energy and visions that are going to come to you. And to prepare for day 2, we will have a special ceremony on the bus that clears the energy fields from day to day. It allows us to prepare for the new energies so that this unique pilgrimage can reveal deep inside you your greater purpose of understanding the histories of the world.
So day 2, Inverness to Kirkwall. This morning we'll visit Loch Ness, home of the infamous Nessie, before we continue up north for the coast of the Highlands, following the eastern leg of the legendary North Coast 500, Scotland's answer to American Route 66. We'll stop in a fairy-tale-like Dunrobin Castle, and during a walk through its magnificent gardens, we may be lucky enough to catch a falconry display, a skill practiced by generations of Scottish gentry. Touring north, we'll pass through the tiny fishing villages, clinging the rock coastline and view of the impressive sea stacks at Dunscombe Head before arriving the most northerly town in the UK, mainland John O'Groats. As we take the ferry over to the beautiful Pentland Firth, keep on the lookout for dolphins, whales, and even the occasional orca in this wildlife-rich stretch of water. Upon landing in Orkney, we'll drive up through the famous Churchill Barriers, which once guarded Britain's Royal Navy at Scapa Flow, before arriving into the capital of Kirkwall. With its impressive ancient cathedral, pick streaks, harbour and great local pubs and restaurants, you won't be stuck for ways to enjoy your first evening on Orkney.
Here is where we delve deeper into the histories of the great Scottish Highlands and Isles. Scapa Flow, World War II. Imagine the histories that can come out as we pass these places and spaces and read the energies of the Akashic records.
So day 3 is spent on Orkney. This is an archipelago of over 70 islands. We'll be up bright and early. We'll make the most of the long summer days on Orkney, heading west through the magnificent Ring of Brodgar to the 5,000-year-old Neolithic village of Skye Brae. We'll arrive early to beat the crowds and explore this iconic monument in peace. Designated as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO, the 4 monuments that make up the heart of the Neolithic Orkney are unquestionably among the most important Neolithic sites in Western Europe. Diving back into the present, we'll stretch our legs with a long walk along a section of Orkney's stunning coastline, looking out for beautiful wildflowers, rare seabirds and marine life offshore, perhaps even stopping to enjoy a picnic lunch of Orkney's famous oatcakes and cheese. Walking is thirsty work, and no trip to Orkney will be complete without a visit to Orkney Brewery. With a strong focus on sustainability and using locally grown produce, you can enjoy tasting some of their beers, safe in the knowledge that they have considered and are taking steps to reduce their environmental impact. We'll finish the day with a drive down to the Churchill Barriers, where we'll stop to see a beautiful testament of ingenuity and faith, the Italian chapel, built by Italian prisoners during World War II. Our passionate local guides know this place like the back of their hands, and each one will have their own secret spots where they love to take their guests to explore. They'll make the most of the day based on the weather and the interests of the group. We will then have another night in Kirkwall.
Once again, being able to experience all of the histories of the Neolithic sites at Orkney, giving you a chance to gaze deep into the ancient history, how people lived, loved, learned, and we get an opportunity to look through the Akashic records and to see a way they lived that isn't written in our history books.
So day 4, Kirkwall to Ullapool. Leaving Kirkwall behind, we drive down the south end of Orkney and cross back over the Pentland Firth of the Scottish mainland on the morning ferry. We'll journey along the north coast of Scotland, past vast sandy beaches, rugged cliffs and plenty of wide open spaces, before stopping at Inverness for a walk into the vast chasm of Smough Cave, used by the smugglers for centuries. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can choose to have a go on the Golden Eagle zipline 100 feet above the beach. And after lunch in Inverness area, we'll continue down through the spectacular scenery of the Northwest Highlands, designed as Scotland's first ever geopark by UNESCO in 2004. We'll take a walk in the jewel in the crown of the geopark, Knocken Crag, to discover how this spectacular landscape has formed before continuing south into the fishing port of Ullapool for the evening. The evening, then we'll head out into town to discover some live traditional Scottish music, local ales and fishermen with plenty of tales to tell.
Once again experiencing day to day the pilgrimage and the ceremonies and clearings that we produce each and every day while we're on the bus tour to get everyone prepared for the next day, so vision comes stronger and stronger.
Day 5, we're going to the Isle of Lewis. This morning we're going to board our ferry for Stornoway and set off for the Isle of Lewis. It's a beautiful sea crossing, so keep your eyes peeled on the voyage for the vast array of marine life that can be spotted regularly. Download the Hebridean Whale and Dolphin Trust app and report your sightings, directly contributing to the data used for researching and understanding the marine life travelling through these rich waters. Upon disembarking in Stornoway, prepare for an exciting day touring the cultural attractions on the Isle of Lewis. First, go back to the Neolithic period on our visit to the mysterious 5,000-year-old Callanish standing stones. Then fast forward to the Iron Age at the Broch of Dun Calloway. Experience 17th century island life at the Garanan Black House Village and explore the remote and rugged Atlantic coastline with their vast sandy beaches. Visit the Butt of Lewis, the most northerly point on the island, to see the isolated lighthouse and dramatic force of the sea against the cliffs. And back in Stornoway, wander around the pretty harbour and go in search of fresh seafood in the local restaurants. We're spending overnight in Stornoway.
On the Isle of Lewis, you get to experience the vast openings of the island, away from the central cities, free to breathe the free air and to realize that being inside you, your purpose is to recognize who you are and how ancient you are. And there is begin to discover more about the akashic records.
Day 6. Isle of Harris and Skye. We depart Stornoway and drive south, crossing from the flat peatlands of Lewis to the rocky lunar landscapes of the Isle of Harry. We'll continue down south end to Harris to view some of the most stunning sandy beaches before we head back to Hub and Harris Tarbert. There will be a time to visit the Isle of Harris distillery, a brand new venture with social responsibility at its heart, collaborating with the local producers, the botanical used in their delicious gin. We then board the ferry and cross the sea once again to the Isle of Skye. We spend the afternoon exploring, connecting to the land. We'll drive around the coast of Tortonish Peninsula and the north end of the island as we see the breathtaking Cullen Mountains. Weather and group permitting, we'll take a hike up the iconic Old Man of Storr, marvel at the sheer cliffs and killed rocks and the nearby Lelt Falls before heading to the capital of the island, Portree. In Portree we visit the shops, the harbour with its colourful facades. We'll then make our way to a hotel for the evening of rest.
Like the ancient explorers of the world's past, island to island, place to place, begin to experience the journey in such an intense, deep, energetic process.
So we're on to day 7. We're on the Isle of Skye and we're going to have a rest day. So after 6 busy days of exploring, today is your chance to choose your own pace. Whether you want to take a long hike into the hills, or simply sit and enjoy a good book, or paddle in the many streams or on the beaches, it's totally up to you. After 6 days on the road, our driver guide is required by law to take a day's rest. But that doesn't mean that we have to. There are many fantastic walks to be done from the hotel. Head out on a wildlife cruise from the harbour, spot dolphins, whales and the majestic sea eagle. If you need more adventure in your life, there are options, including donning a dry suit and doing some coasteering, or trying your hand at the local climbing wall. All activities today are optional, as today is a rest day for the driver guide.
And here, during the rest days, is where you get to contemplate what has happened, what you have seen, and we also begin for what you will come to see. We will get together on parts of this rest day to do our prayers and ceremony, to clear out the past and welcome in the future, sharing our experiences, finding opportunities to come into small groups or one big group, where we all can begin some of the bigger sharing of our experiences.
Day 8, Isle of Skye to Oban. Leaving Portree, we'll dive down to the south end of Skye to visit the ancient seat of the Lord of the Isles at Armadale Castle. After visiting the Museum of the Isles, we'll take the ferry over to the fishing port of Malalag and a beautiful sea crossing. After time in Malalag for lunch, we'll follow the road to the Isles through the majestic West Highlands, passing iconic landmarks such as Loch Shield and the Glenfinnan Viaduct, which featured in the famous Harry Potter movie. Passing under the shadow of UK's biggest mountain, Ben Nevis, we'll follow the road south into Glencoe, where your guide will bring the life story of the infamous massacre. We'll continue down the west coast and into the bustling port of Oban, known as a gateway to the Isle. Oban has many excellent seafood restaurants which cater to all budgets, but a few things can beat sitting on the pier, watching the ferries glide into the bay while munching on the tastiest fish and chips.
Once again, the life of the Isles, the ports, being able to experience the higher vibration of the pilgrimage from Loch Ness to the Highlands to the lowlands, from the cities to the port cities, island to island, and back to island to the cities once again. That unique combination of energy with the pilgrimage that is Scotland.
So day 9, we're off in the Hebrides of Mull, Iona and Staffa. We're up with the Lark this morning in order to catch the first ferry from Oban over to the Isle of Mull. There will be time to pick up some breakfast during the 45-minute crossing. Once alighted from the ferry, we'll take the scenic drive down to the south of the island and the tiny port of Fionfort. If you're feeling adventurous, you'll board a traditionally built fishing boat for the trip out to the island of Staffa. On the journey north, your first glimpse of Staffa will be the iconic vertical basalt columns which frame the magnificent Fingal's Cave. You'll spend around an hour, walking ashore on Staffa, weather permitting, to walk around the shoreline and into that famous cave. You'll also be on the lookout for Staffa's most famous residence, the incredibly cute and colourful puffin. So waving farewell to our new puffin pals, we return to the sacred Isle of Iona, where you can visit the remains of the monastery and the peaceful Iona Abbey. Founded by St. Columba in 563 AD, Iona Abbey was born witness to Viking raids and religious reformations, but has always traditionally been at the heart of Christianity in Scotland. It's the final resting place of no less than 60 kings. Alternatively, there are great views to be had from the top of the main hill on Iona, Dunai, a short but steep walk from the Abbey. Returning to Oban in the early evening, your guide will point you in the direction of the freshest seafood for dinner. We'll stay another night in Oban.
Are you one of those 60 kings laying rest in Iona? Could you be? Or is your purpose to discover something even greater about yourself, to bring the kingdom within yourself to the next level by experiencing the pilgrimage?
So day 10, Oban to Edinburgh. After a relaxed breakfast, we'll leave Oban behind to drive inland through the Pass of Brander and Loch Orr, stopping to see the architectural unique St. Cohen's Kirk, voted one of Scotland's most iconic buildings of the last 100 years. There will also be a chance to see Kilchurn Castle, the ancestral home of Campbells of Glencorny, one of Scotland's most photographed castles. Onwards up to Glenlochy towards Tindrum. We'll stop for some lunch before making the drive back down through the Trossachs National Park towards Stirling. After Stirling Castle, we'll make one last stop to see the Kelpies, two giant sculptures dedicated to the mighty Clydesdale horse, which tower over the entrance of one of Scotland's most important canals. Arriving back into Edinburgh into the late afternoon, it's time for us to say cheerio until next time, And have you found your purpose?
Because that is the end of the trip. And if you have not found your purpose by the end of the trip, we will give you a t-shirt that says Recovering Lightworker. There we'll have a collective group hug as everyone goes off into their different directions and tells everyone in the universe of the great wonders of the pilgrimage that you took to Scotland and beyond. Thank you everybody that comes upon this tour, upon this video, and we hope that it's been educational and informative enough for you to want to come and join us on this tour.